My name is Claire Geyer, and I'm from Thomaston, Maine originally, and now I live in Portland, Maine.
What is your King's connection?
I graduated in 2008 with my honors degree in early modern studies and theater studies from King's in Dalhousie.
And why did you choose King's? How did that come about?
Well, actually, that's a kind of interesting story. Initially, when I was applying for universities, I really thought that I wanted to be in a very strict classical music conservatory setting. I wanted to be an opera singer, and that was all I was interested in doing. And then while applying for those opportunities and doing audition tapes and sending out all of these forms and filling out all of these forms, I got really disillusioned and started really worrying that that was all I was going to do for the next 4 years of my life while everybody else was off having fun and doing all sorts of interesting things. So I started kind of crazily applying for random other places in the States that I thought had good, broad liberal arts programs. And when I started getting acceptance letters back, I did a few visits and just wasn't really finding anything that was super exciting to me. And the King's deadline hadn't passed. A friend of mine had told me about the foundation year program, and I thought it might be, I don't know, something interesting to do for a year at least and see what happens, and it definitely couldn't hurt. And so I applied because the admissions deadline for international students, I don't know if it still is, but it was quite late, so I had plenty of time to put together a real application, and I was accepted on my birthday on May 19th, and so I thought, okay, well, why not? And, initially went into it thinking I'd be there for the foundation year and then, see what happened. But I loved it so much and was so very happy with the people that I met there and the programs that were offered for the future that I decided to stay.
Tell me, if we do go back to the foundation year program, what was that like for you?
Let's see. Well, I'd never visited King's when I arrived, and within the first week, I knew half of my class, and they were really excellent, wonderful people. My very, very good friends were in my tutorial 12, I think, maybe it was 6. But that was really a wonderful, wonderful blessing. So I already had this great, great community in the first maybe week of it. And I also really, really loved, there's a certain kind of feeling that you would get in the dorms, especially like around the time that your 5th essays were due, because everybody's working on the same set of questions, and it's all due at the same time, and we've all read the same things. It's just this wonderful kind of group effort. Everybody's talking about, what you're going to do with essay question number 2, what you're going to do with essay question number 4, and it's a really excellent feedback situation where everyone can kind of talk over what we're all learning and doing at the same time.
What was special for you about interacting with the great books?
Well, I come from a very rural place, so I had really not had a lot of opportunities to meet many of these great books yet. I was there with people who had come from very, very large schools in Toronto who had studied philosophy already and kind of had their feet wet in terms of dealing with pre-Socratics and people that I had only kind of heard about in hearsay before I got there. It was really kind of liberating to have someone trust you enough as a thinking and processing individual to hand you these great books and want to know what you think about them without any sort of pretense or prior knowledge. It was great. I really appreciated that part of how the foundation year program handled that kind of material.
How would you describe your overall King's experience?
Multifaceted, I guess. I did a lot while I was there. I was very involved with the King's Theatrical Society. I did many, many productions with them. I also was, I don't know if the zine still exists, but I was the editor of the zine for a while, the alternative student newspaper that was there oh gosh, well, that was in 2007, 2008, the year I was editing that. I lived on campus, I lived off campus, and oh man, I don't know, there's just so much to talk about it.
And as you say, your time at King's wasn't limited to just the foundation year. You continued your growth at King's, and you also did classes at Dal. Can you tell me about the opportunities that are available through King's relationship with Dal?
Well, having access to Dalhousie meant that, you know, King's has a focus on interdisciplinary studies, and having Dalhousie meant that I could expand my interdisciplinary interests even further. I studied theater, and so that meant that, you know, not only did I have opportunities in KTS to exercise creative impulses and figure out what I was excited about in theater, but it also meant that I got to apply all of that in classes, learn theory, and work with the theater professionals that were next door. I also got to study oceanography and go visit the Aquatron, which is this incredible contraption that they have in the oceanography department that studies all sorts of currents and things like that. And anything else that I was interested in was always kind of right next door, whether it was through the library systems or through their, I don't know, their student societies. If we didn't have something, then it was always available. It was a really excellent resource, and definitely provides King's with this kind of unlimited potential to be whatever you need it to be.
And what would you say are some key lessons that you learned at King's?
Well, I think King's approach to student societies and kind of making your own interdisciplinary program it really helped me learn to be a self-sufficient and self-guided person, which definitely helps when you get out into the real world and have to make your own way.
How did your King's experience prepare you for what you're doing now?
Well, I think studying things in an interdisciplinary way definitely lends themselves to the kind of work that I'm doing right now. I am a dramaturge with a couple different theater companies in Portland, Maine, and a lot of that work involves doing research about different theater pieces that you're working on. So that can be historical research, or it can be theoretical research looking into ideas or places or the ways that trends have developed, and then applying that to whatever you're performing so that that idea comes across in performance. And being able to to draw on all sorts of different resources and different ways of looking at information and ideas, like we do in early modern studies, in contemporary studies, really helped me, I think, be loose in the ways that I look at information and apply it, and let different kinds of information and different sources kind of coexist for a while until they kind of figure themselves out and show me what they have in common or how they can speak to each other. I think that kind of unlimited potential that we've talked about also definitely is a very important skill that I've learned. Just not limiting myself to one goal, but having many, and approaching goals in a multifaceted and kind of broader way than I think I would have if I hadn't been around if I hadn't done the things that I did at King's.
What would you say to somebody who was considering King's?
I would say go. I mean, coming from a person who signed up kind of on a whim and thought that she would make it maybe a year, and then ended up spending an excellent 4 years there. I'd say that it was the best gamble I ever made, and I would encourage anybody to do the same. I would tell them that if they're interested in learning about the world in a wide and engaging way, I would say that is maybe the best place to start. I don't know. I've talked to a couple people about it and described the foundation year, and that usually kind of explains itself. So I don't have to do a lot of selling around that. But I think that, I don't know. It was a wonderful, wonderful adventure for me, and an adventure I would recommend for anybody.